Look, I'll be honest, I thought the commander decks weren't going to start coming out till next week, but I guess we're getting previews today, so we're going to look at one of the two commander decks, which is the Living Energy Precon, and I actually am happy that there's only two commander decks instead of four. I think it makes it A little bit, easier for coverage, but also B, like, four commander decks is a lot, and I feel like sometimes it's better to just do a couple and kind of let the set shine on its own. Cool part is, some of these cards based on my sort of initial, I've only read like 3 of them, actually, like read them. So this will be a very genuine sort of reactionary to a lot of this stuff. But some of these seem really strong, and I don't think there's been too many instances of green having a lot of energy stuff prior to this deck. I know there are some, but like generally speaking, Modern Horizons 3 gave us the energy precon that had a lot of really good stuff for red and blue, and white obviously had a lot, but I think green has been on the lesser end, so I'm interested to dive into this a little and see what we've got. So, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Click the bell icon if you want to be notified when new videos are posted, and we're going to jump into the video. So, this is the Living Energy Precon 1 of 2 for Aetherdrift, and the face commander is Saheeli, Radiant Creator. It is 1 green, blue, red, legendary human artificer. Whenever you cast an artificer or artifact spell, you get an energy counter. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 3 energy counters. When you do, create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control, except it's a 5/5 artifact creature in addition to its other types and has haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. This feels like they took Satia, which was the face commander from Modern Horizons 3's energy deck, and just made it even better in a lot of ways. Obviously, stacking energy with the artifact spells are solid, but 3 energy to copy any permanent and turn it into a creature on top of that feels absolutely insane. Like, you have it for the turn, so if you have a powerful artifact or enchantment out that you want to make a copy of and get like twice the, I guess, results from, it's a lot easier to do this. And the difference, of course, with Satia is when you attack, you can make a copy of another creature you control, which is certainly good. This is different, but in a way, it's almost better. Obviously, depending on what some of the other new cards do, but I feel like this is super strong, and maybe it's just me, but is anyone else looking at this and just thinking like, wow, this is a really, really powerful commander? Because just on paper anyway, or digital, I suppose, it does look that way. Now, PNLR Chief Mechanic is the, I guess, alternate commander here for this, and this is the same green, blue, red, legendary human artificer. It says, whenever 1 or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you get 2 energy counters. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1 or more energy counters. If you do, create an XX colorless vehicle artifact token named Nalar Aetherjet with flying and crew 2, where X is the amount of energy spent this way. Feels significantly weaker than the other commander. I don't necessarily understand why you can only gain the energy once, because it's like if they deal damage to a player, it's not like you get an energy for each creature that dealt damage, which is interesting in and of itself. I suppose being able to make that vehicle somewhat strong if you have a lot of energy is solid, but there's a lot of other places you'll typically want to invest your energy, and I just don't think this is like the best way to do it. It's not a terrible card or anything, it just feels substantially weaker than Saheeli, and almost like, I don't know, it feels like they're trying to force the vehicle thing, but like there's already been some better vehicle cards in the regular set that, in my personal opinion anyway, kind of outclass this. But maybe I'm wrong. You guys let me know. It doesn't even, it doesn't necessarily feel like a bad card. It just feels like it's not really doing as much as you'd want for your commander. But I could very well be missing something. So as always, I invite some discourse in the comments. Let's look at the new cards that are not commanders. Aether Flux Conduit is a 6-drop artifact that says whenever you cast a spell, you get energy equal to the amount of mana spent to cast that spell. That's insane. It's extremely good for energy, and yes, it costs 6, but it's not like we don't have plenty of ways to lower the cost of artifacts. Just in general, really, really solid start. You can tap and pay 50 energy, draw 7 cards, and cast any number of spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. I don't know how we're going to pull that one off. 50 energy is a lot, and certainly there are ways to proliferate, and definitely ways to stack up energy, but 50 is a good bit. That said, if you do resolve this, you're more than likely winning the game because you're drawing 7 and basically playing your entire hand for free, so there is a lot to like about it. But I think that first effect is going to be what's really strong, and the second effect is just going to be more like, alright, this is cool if we have access to it, but otherwise, we just kind of make do with what we've got. I don't know. Adaptive Omni Tool is a 2-drop artifact equipment that says equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. Whenever a equipped creature attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, and it has equip 3. Well, this is generically awesome for equipment decks in general. I mean, especially when you're playing a ton of artifacts, this is just the type of card that is inexpensive to play and has the ability to really help you dig and get some extra resources while buffing your creatures up pretty significantly. It's not groundbreaking by any stretch, but it just checks a lot of the boxes that you'd look for when determining what you wanted to include. No complaints here. This is just a pretty good way to get you some resources and also buff a creature up, so not bad. Aetheric, I don't even know what words are coming out of my mouth here. Aetheric Amplifier, I don't fucking know. It's a 3-drop that you can tap to add 1 mana of any color. You can also pay 4 and choose 1, activating only as a sorcery. Double the number of each kind of counter on target permanent, or double the number of each kind of counter you have. Now that would be like energy counters, poison counters, obviously experience counters, things like that. So that's kind of the reason that is separate, because doubling on one specific permanent, if this doubled on every permanent, that would be genuinely broken, and I'm glad they didn't go that direction, because this is one of the cards I saw before starting the video, and I misread it at first, and I'm like, holy shit, this is like an auto-include card and everything. So it's definitely not that, but it's still pretty damn solid overall, being able to give you mana but also have the extra utility stuff going on, and you can double your energy counters with this, which I guess in theory does make Aether Flux Conduit a little easier to use if you can get up to 25. It seems like they're really focusing on making energy more viable and giving some real like application for the alternate resources, which is nice to see. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's, you know, when generally speaking, you're playing a deck, you're going to be including a couple of mana rocks that cost 3 that do different things, whether it's Chromatic Lantern, Commander Sphere, whatever. I mean, there's so many different ones, but this definitely for energy feels like it's one of the best options that you have. Now, I did see this one. This is nuts. Nissa, the World Soul Speaker, is 3 and a green with landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, you get 2 energy. You may pay 8 energy rather than pay the mana cost for permanent spells you cast. If you don't know how easily energy can be stacked up or how easily landfall can be pulled off in green, this feels like it is beyond cracked. And I could be overreacting just based on reading the effect and not thinking about how well its application is going to be in the actual game. But I think this is going to be nuts. 1 land gets you 2, a fetch land gets you 4. If you have a way to double them or you keep getting more counters, you can fucking go off. Or not even taking into consideration ramp cards that are going to give you extra lands. And when you can early on start playing your cards for next to nothing, that sets a dangerous precedent going forward. I think this card is really strong. I just don't see a scenario where it's not going to be sort of an auto-include in any green that's playing energy. But generally speaking, I mean, even in a non-energy deck, like just being in a landfall deck, you only got to resolve a few land drops before you can cast anything for free from your hand by paying 8 energy. This is just a really, really strong card across the board, and it's obviously not legal in anything other than Commander or Eternal formats, but still a significantly strong Nissa coming out of this set, and it's only a rare, technically, so. Puma Trailblazer is 2 and a green, creature elephant warrior with trample. When it deals combat damage, you get that many energy counters, and it has exhaust. You can pay 6 energy, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it, then draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. So at least you're going to draw 5, unless it's stronger. And it's nice to see that exhaust mechanic get kind of rolled over here onto one of the Commander deck cards as well. It's just decent. It's not the craziest card in the world, but really, if you're playing energy already and you can drop this for 3, you can just pay the 6 energy and then you get 5 cards and the counters for mana. I mean, it's just good. It's good. It's inexpensive. Again, I know I said that about a few other things, but there's the danger when you kind of get into the low to the ground stuff that can really take energy counters and generate you significant advantage, and then you give it to green, you're setting yourself up for what could potentially be a really explosive combo deck. So I think this is super good. Rampaging Aetherhood has some neat artwork here. 4 and a green, creature Snake Hydra with trample and ward 2. At the beginning of your upkeep, you get an amount of energy counters equal to this creature's power. Then you may pay 1 or more energy. If you do, put that many +1/+1 counters on this creature. So if it's a 4/4 at the start of your upkeep, you get 4 energy counters. Then you can pay 4 and put 4 counters on it. Just kind of self-explanatory, but in case anyone had a little trouble following that, I do feel like the more energy you can generate, the stronger this becomes. And having Trample and Ward 2 means it can get there pretty quickly, especially if you're able to double your energy and stuff. The stronger this gets, the more energy it makes. And it's, in essence, kind of almost doubling its power every turn, or at least significantly stacking its power every turn, you know, in a way that many Hydras do. Just good in general. And the ward obviously helps, but like you could play this outside of energy and it's still going to be a decent Hydra that can get pretty buffed pretty quickly. So Not the greatest card ever printed, but definitely a solid card. Stride Hanger Automaton, I never knew how to pronounce it. 3 colorless mana artifact creature construct Thopters you control get +1/+1. If one or more artifact tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus an additional 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying are created instead. So it's like a Chatterfang for Thopters, except you don't get the exact same amount, you just get 1. But hey, extra Thopters are always nice, and for a ton of cards that care about the number of artifacts you control and things of that nature, this is definitely an easy way to help ramp that a little faster. And turning your Thopters into stronger creatures that can get over things with flying is not bad either, so generically a solid card that I think will slot into a lot of different decks, but with the Thopter support we're seeing in this set, I do think this will work pretty well. And finally, we've got Territorial Aether Kite, which is 4 and 2 red, creature, cat, dragon with flying and haste. When it enters, you get 2 energy counters, then you may pay 1 or more energy counters. When you do, this creature deals that much damage to each other creature. Pretty solid as a board wipe. It's a little costly, but if there was ways to either reanimate it or bring it out more cheap, it's definitely not bad. We do see a lot of cards in here that allow you to pay energy to cast your creatures instead, but truth be told, you probably want to save that energy to actually be able to maximize this card's effect and have it be more of like a blasphemous act type. But I think they made a similar card, a cat dragon, in Modern Horizons 3 that was, again, kind of right along that line of like, okay, but not great, and I think this is sort of where that one falls for me. As a whole for the deck, I think the Nissa is definitely going to be the MVP card out of here. It's just so strong, but Aether Flux Conduit feels like it could have some potential, and the Amplifier feels like it's just got a lot of potential in all kinds of application, not just here. So there's a lot to like. I think Saheeli is really cool. Energy counters can be a little annoying to deal with, like, in person because of how much tracking you have to do, but if you're quick with it, or if you're playing it online or something, I imagine it's certainly a lot easier. I think the deck's pretty cool. I think some of the new cards are solid. I don't think there was any super standout reprints when I did a quick glance at the list. But generally speaking, I think it's solid. I like the direction that they went with it, and I think giving green energy is certainly going to be an interesting experiment. But I don't know. We'll have to see how it all kind of shakes out. I'm going to send it over to you guys, though. If you enjoyed the video, definitely let me know in the comments down below what you think about this deck, what cards you think might be strongest, and if you don't like it, kind of curious as to why. It seems pretty solid, and I think in terms of the uniqueness of it, there are some cards that should appeal, at least something should appeal to most people out of this deck. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.